How to save 50% on one of the best travel apps. AA has finally released trading cards. Choice Hotels has gutted Japan, and all about Mark's Colombia trip coming up right now on MTM Travel.
I'll try not to be as hateful towards Hyatt as Shawn was.
Well, happy Tuesday, everyone. Mark, I am back home after my Hyatt adventures. Should I address the Grand Hyatt Athens and some of the comments I received from people over the last week?
Sure.
It's interesting in this hobby, or any time when you're a public facing and you criticize anything, how first off, people are going to come and tell you that you're dumb and that their experiences are different. But I did hear from a lot of Diamond members who have a more nuanced view, and a lot of them agreed with some of what I said about the hotel and the service staff, especially. I heard that from a lot of people saying the service wasn't great there. A lot of people did like the breakfast more than I did, and most of them hadn't had any run-ins with managers. So I'd say most people that I talked to had a very middling experience at this hotel. One guy told me that I should be ashamed for not looking at the location to see all the adult stuff in the area. I don't know. Whatever. I've moved on.
Yeah, I don't
stay there. Or
I don't do street views of like outside of hotels when I'm staying there. I mean, sometimes you do if you're like looking to see what's in the area for like restaurants and stuff. But most of the time, no, I'm not looking for sex shops every hotel I stay at.
And just remember that I was promised 20,000 points. They only gave me 10. I'm still waiting for them. I had to follow up after a week. I gave them a week to do it. So that just kind of tells you what the management is like at this hotel. I have not escalated this to Hyatt or anything else. I did say on the last show that after I filled out the survey about the hotel, my Hyatt concierge had sent me an email, said, "Oh, I see you have a upcoming stay in Barcelona." I didn't see that email in time, but she did send me one for Casablanca. And so she's like, "Are you celebrating anything?" And I didn't want to like lie about like, "Oh, we're celebrating this," because she knows our birth dates and stuff. But I said my daughter just graduated 5th grade and it's her first time in Africa. And the response I got back was, "Oh, great for you guys." And so nothing at the hotel. Why did you even ask? Like, what was the point of even asking? Like a note at the hotel,
a plush giraffe in there or something.
But why would you even ask it then? "Oh yeah, good for you guys." I mean, okay. That's been my experience with my concierge for years. So no hate for her. She comes through when I absolutely need it. But other than that, not much.
I do wonder, like, is that the most useless perk of Globalist? Like, everybody complains about their concierge. I think they used to be better when they had less Globalists or Diamonds or whatever it was back then. And they just didn't like staff properly when they came to this. And then it became like a milestone type of reward. So if you status matched into it or you got one through a status match, you didn't get access to it. So we thought that might help out. But I mean, their social media team's so good that I don't know that it's really helpful in that way. And we'll talk about my friend's story with his concierge later and how useless that was. And it didn't get him anywhere, and why he is no longer going to be a globalist anymore.
Big stuff there. So Mark is bringing the Hyatt hate today. Next week, I'll talk Hyatt Regency Barcelona. I mean, so much Hyatt, but quick tops about that in Morocco and all the things we did. Royal Air Morocco and the flight back, all that sort of stuff. No real hate for those other hotels, so no Hyatt hate coming in next week. But let's before we get into before we get into Colombia, let's talk AA. They released the trading cards. A lot of airlines have done this for a while, where they have different cards for the different types of planes. And AA did 4 cards, I think, for their current planes: the 321neo, 737-8, the 777-300ER, and the 787-9P. And then, so not all their current planes. And then they added a couple of old planes. And the controversy of this is that their pilots had just announced that the pilots themselves, the pilots union, was going to do these cards. And then AA kind of trumped them and did their own.
Yeah, and I mean, it's fun. And they talked about this. It was supposed to happen, I think, like a month ago, and they slowly rolled it out. And then now they should have more access to cards. And I thought it was just kind of a fun thing that somewhat unexpected. But, people that listen to this podcast are kind of nerdy about planes, or at least a lot of them are, and will enjoy this. I wouldn't care. My son would probably love to get one of these and would read all about the plane we're on and things like that. But I would just give it to somebody else. I don't know.
Well, that's the weird thing. And 1 Mile at a Time had an article about it, and he pointed out something good. I mean, that you're not necessarily going to get the card for the plane that you're on. because it seems like the captains are just gonna. It just seems like the pilots are just gonna hand out cards randomly. So that's one little disconnect. But yeah, they look really good too. So it's not like they're cheap. I think the quality is nice. Good for them.
Yeah, I can see people getting excited to try to collect all these, kind of like the houses on the KLM, like they want the whole city lineup and things like this. This is just something fun if you're flying AAA to try to get them all, and I'm sure they'll be sold on eBay for a decent amount of money at some point.
So let's talk Japan and Choice. I think Loyalty Lobby found that Choice kind of overnight devalued a lot of their properties in big cities in Japan, specifically like Tokyo and Osaka. Previously, a lot of the properties were like 8,000 points a night, and now they're looking at 20 or higher per night. And it doesn't seem like there was any notice about this, or we didn't see it. And that takes a lot of these properties, which aren't the nicest, but they were good values, and kind of takes it out of the realm of something you want to book.
Yeah, and this is what we saw with Hyatt too. Like Japan was really hit hard in the latest devaluations and the category changes, and it's just been going up. And ever since COVID, we've seen how Japan's kind of like number one on everybody's list of where they want to go, even though Shawn wishes they would stay away. But it also goes to show like how much value choice can give you internationally. We've talked about it over the last year or so with Wells Fargo transferring 2 to 1. Citi is 1.5 to 1, used to be 2 to 1, but there's still like think about that. If you can find a hotel for 10,000 points, that's only 5,000 Wells Fargo points. That's very cheap. It's kind of crazy when you put it into perspective like that. So yeah, these distressed properties are properties you don't normally want to stay at 8K. You might be like, okay, I'll rough it. It's worth it. It's so cheap. It's only 4,000 Wells Fargo points, or what, like 6,000 something, like 6,000 something Citi thank you points. When they double in price, probably less useful, but there still are some nice choice hotels internationally that are worth looking at. So just don't forget about that company when you're doing your searches for hotels.
And it does seem like some of the other cities in Japan, the lesser uh, demand cities, that there are still 8,000 point hotels. So yeah, there's still an option. And, depending on the type of trip you're at, and we hear this a lot from people, you don't always want the nicest hotel. You don't always want to pay up. Sometimes that cheap hotel is worth it. Like I did Korea last year with my buddy Dave. We were out of the hotel all the time. We did the Ibis Styles in Seoul because it was a great deal with my Accor points that I had gotten. And so, it wasn't the nicest room in the world or hotel in the world, but it worked.
Yeah, and Citi just launched a transfer bonus to Core for 50%. So maybe you need to top off again.
Yeah, I haven't used. I got to remember to use them more often. I haven't redeemed them since then, but I have a few $1,000s worth, I think, if I remember right. So yeah, liking Accor. But let us know. Have you stayed any choice hotels in Japan? Let us know. Which ones are you heartbroken by this? We will discuss it down below. This next segment is for a company we work with, CardPointers, and they have this sale 50% off right now for their lifetime membership, which comes to $140. It's normally $280, or their annual membership is normally $90. You can get it for $45. And this tool is something I've been using for quite a few years. On the basic side, you can enter all your card information in there, so it'll track your annual fees, all your bonus categories, your 524 status. A lot of apps do that, but it also has those features. But the really killer feature of CardPointers is its automatic integration with browser plugins to be able to load things like American Express offers and offers from other banks as well. All those spending offers all in one place, and it works really well.
Yeah, and the best perk is that it allows you to add an Amex offer to more than one card. Normally, if you go in there and click it, you used to be able to load it to all your Amex cards that had the offer. And now, once you click it on one card, it disappears from the rest. They automatically add it to all. So you can take advantage of those best offers more than one time. And if you do want to sign up, you can use our QR code that Shawn put up on the video or in the show notes. And that we do get a kickback for that. So we appreciate you supporting the show in that way.
All right, Mark. So let's talk Cartagena, another Hyatt-centric show here, because you stayed at a couple Hyatts and all-inclusive, but you started at the Hyatt Regency Cartagena, right?
Yeah, we got there and checked in, and it's one of those hotels where you enter on the main floor, but you have to go up to a higher floor to do the check-in process. And you walk in, and the check-in desks are lined up with the glass windows, and you just see like the ocean, and it's really a pretty entry area. And in the main areas of the hotel, like the pool area, the restaurants, everything is very nice here. It's a category 3, I believe. We booked into a suite for 24,000 points. It was the same price as booking 2 rooms, and then we have the kids in the same room. So figured just do that, take advantage of it. Or we could have booked 2 rooms, 12K each. I will say the rooms are a little bit dated, but nothing bad. And for a category 3 hotel, it really pulls it off. I think it's a great property. And they offered us at check-in for $125. They upgraded us to, we booked into the base suite that had like 2 couches that my kids were gonna have to sleep on, or maybe it was like the corner suite. It wasn't quite like the entry level suite. But they would have to sleep on a couple couches, and then we had the main master suite off the living room, and they're like, hey, for $125 a night, taxes and fees included in that, you can get a room that has a 2-bedroom and then a main room, big living room, and a balcony. And I was like, oh, you had me at balcony. So I did that, paid the $125 to upgrade.
So I know from looking at pictures of this hotel over the years, I've kind of stalked it a little bit, that it's like right on the ocean, right? It has a nice rooftop pool, I think I've seen. And I've heard a lot about Cartagena over the years. Obviously, it's on the Caribbean, so a little bit of a different feel from many of the other cities in Colombia. Has an old walled-in city, I think, a lot of history there. So how was that experience? Like location-wise, how is it? And then how is Cartagena itself?
Yeah, the location is a bit away from the walled city where a lot of tourists are going to go and the cruise ships go there and stuff like that. But it is on like the beach front. And I use beachfront lightly. You can go to the beach. The ocean is, it's a dark, black sand beach. The ocean's kind of churny and you can't really see. It's not crystal clear water or anything like that. So if you're going for a beach vacation, this won't really do. The one kind of hack you have in Cartagena is you can hop on a boat. You can do these tours where they take you to kind of like a day club on islands that are 45 minutes out there. I think you can access some of them by car too. It's like an hour and a half drive. But you go out to these islands, you pay $70 a person, something like that. All the food and drinks are included. You hang out there all day. They have music, and that's like white sandy beaches, feels very Caribbean. So if you want like that Caribbean island feel, you can still get that for a day or two if you want to pay to go out there. So you have that option. People did use the beach. They did swim. Even when I woke up at like 6 a.m. one day, went out on the patio or the balcony, and you saw people out at the beach already. So they get up early in Cartagena to go swimming. And it is brutally hot and humid there. So the earlier you get out there, probably the better it is. And then the walled city is like a 5-minute Uber ride away, and Uber is there, not legal. So if you're riding, you're probably gonna have to sit up front with the driver to make it look like it's just a friend driving you around, I guess is the way they get around it. But it's very cheap. They pick you up, no issues with that. Dropped us off at the walled city. It was like 109 out, or real feel. It was brutal. We walked around for like an hour and we were all just drenched, and there's a lot of people like trying to hawk us stuff, which wasn't bad. But the worst thing was there's like these rap groups that walk around, 3 dudes, like one guy carrying the boombox and another guy with a microphone, and they do like freestyle rap about you, and they're trying to get you engaged, and then they basically want a tip from you if you do engage with them. We ignored them, but they did get close. Like they get kind of in your space, and when you have like a 12-year-old daughter, that's not the best. She didn't feel comfortable, and it kind of pissed me off. So we ran into that a couple times. Other than that, it was perfectly fine. Really cool old school architecture, beautiful little section of the city. And then if you get outside of that, we went to an area that has like each little alley has like different things. Like the most famous one is probably like umbrellas hanging between the rooftops. So different color umbrellas you take pictures under. And each one had something different. One was like jellyfish made out of like paper mache type of thing. And you kind of get that unique. I really like that area of the city. It's just like kitty corner to the walled city. So you can walk over there. Lots of restaurants, bars, things like that.
I noticed on X you shared some video from a rooftop bar that looked really neat with some music playing and all of that. Where was that at?
Yeah, this was directly like right next door to the Hyatt Regency, another hotel, but they have a separate rooftop bar that I don't think is really a part of the hotel. You just walk into the lobby. I think there was like a $10 or $11 cover charge. We went there shortly after open, so it wasn't very busy. Open seating, you don't have to pay for like a table or buy a bottle or anything like that. So we went up there, sat, and it was a hot day, but it was really windy up there, so it felt awesome. Like didn't feel hot at all, even though it was still like 100 degrees out. It was just kind of flowing through and the sun was setting. So that was beautiful to see. And the coolest thing was they had a DJ, but then they had a guy playing a live saxophone to the songs. And it was like a lot of 80s, 90s music, like Whitney Houston type of song. No singing, but they would have the track playing and then he would be jamming out on a saxophone, which I had never seen before. I'm sure plenty of other places do it, but it was such a cool experience. Drinks were not that expensive. Everything's fairly inexpensive for the most part in Cartagena. Even like the rooftop pool beer was $4 or $5 there. And we got the kids some food at the pool. It was like $10 for a kids meal. And it was a huge portion for kids meal. So if you're staying there, just order the kids meal. Like the grilled chicken took up like a whole plate. It was massive and it was actually really good food. And there's 3 different pools you can use, an adults one, a kids like baby one or lounge pool, which was the only one that was really cold, and then the main big pool. It wasn't the most refreshing thing because it was so hot and the water was warm. The adults figured it out and ended up sitting in like the 2-foot deep pool because it was cool for some reason.
Yeah, you got to go in the baby's pool to cool off. That's that's hilarious. So, I've never been to Cartagena. I've heard very different things. I think anytime you go to a cruise ship port, a place that gets a lot of cruise ships, that's sometimes a negative thing because of the nature of the tourists that they get. But before we talk about the all-inclusive experience, is Cartagena a thumbs up, thumbs down? Should people visit?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say. We were only in the city area for like a day and a half before we went to the all inclusive, and we did 2 nights at the Hyatt Regency and 3 nights at the all inclusive. If I did it again, I'd probably do 3 at the Hyatt Regency, 2 at the all inclusive. So we didn't get to explore that much. Out by the Hyatt Regency, there's a couple restaurants and bars in that little strip of like the beach area. But if you really want like a nightlife or something like that, you probably want to try to stay in the walled city area. It's just tight streets. I don't know why they allow cars in there, but they do. So it's even crazier. The sidewalks are thin. Not my favorite place I've been to. I enjoyed Rio more. I kind of like the vibe of Rio a bit better. That's my 2 to compare in South America. I would go to Rio over it, but I don't think you would not like Cartagena. I think people would have a good time there. And a lot of people really, really love it.
So let's talk the all-inclusive. That is the Dreams Karibana Cartagena Beach and Golf Resort, a long name. I know that you have hinted at having some issues there, but just
Yeah.
looking at your notes, let's start with something positive. You said the food was pretty good.
Yeah, we're not big all inclusive people. We've stayed at probably 4 in our lifetime, so we don't have like a wide array of experience with it. But I would put this food up there with any of them, if not better than all of them. And usually, like when you go to an all inclusive, in our experience, like you find one restaurant that's really good, the others are kind of whatever. And here, it seemed like everywhere we ate at, I think all the restaurants except for no, we ate at all the restaurants. It was all good except for the pizza. They suck at pizza. Don't eat their pizza at the buffet. They just don't. They don't know how to make it, which is fine. You don't expect great pizza in South America, but everything else was really good. We ate at the steakhouse a couple times. We ate at the Italian restaurant. They have a beach club. They had a restaurant out there we ate at, and all of it was good. Service was always awesome. The people that worked at the hotel were all great. And that's same at the Hyatt Regency. All the people we ran into and greater area of Colombia, like there wasn't a rude person that we dealt with anywhere. So they're very friendly and everybody at the hotel tried their best. There was like a games coordinator that loved my kids and loved Elise, who was on the trip with us, my buddy Ryan and Elise. And they did like everything. They were taking pictures. She was teaching them Spanish. They were teaching her English because she was, working on it. Like, how do I say this and things. And they just had a great time with it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes the difference when you go to places like that and you get the activities and it get you to buy in and the friendly staff. And you don't always get that at all inclusives. Although, I do think that the few Hyatts I've stayed at, the all inclusives, I think all the all inclusives I've stayed at pretty generally have good entertainment staff. They look for really friendly people over the top. And it does make a difference for the kids to kind of get involved. And then, when the drinks are flowing too, it kind of helps you live your best life too.
Yeah, and I think we stood out a bit because I feel like that location is more of a locals type of destination, or there was a lot of Colombian people staying there, and that was kind of like their resort to go to. So I think that they took it as an opportunity, like we said, she was in college, taught English to herself, just on the internet, watching shows and things like that. So she was looking forward to working on hers, and then my son was excited to learn Spanish. and things like that. So they had a lot of fun with it, and they took promotional videos for everything to show people like having a good time. And so I'm like, oh, you guys are like the all stars because they did everything. So they're like every promotional video from that week for sure.
So I know that there was some sort of mistake made that cost Ryan $650. What happened there?
Yeah, so we go to check in, and I had used a lounge access cert for this property, which sounds weird because it's all inclusive. What's the point of a lounge? But I did see that there was a lounge that's like VIP access. So I was like, all right, I'll use this and see what it's like and see if it makes a difference. I'm going to tell you, I don't know if this is true for all inclusives, but I'm guessing if they do have a lounge, it might be true. But it made a big difference for having this. So we go up there to check in, which didn't really matter. That was fine. And we got there first. We had to take 2 Ubers because we had too much luggage and people to cram into one. So we got there first. We're checking in. They get walked a little bit forward into the lounge, have a drink, wait for us to get done. So we get done. We walk over there, and then the people walk up to him, and they're like, we have a problem here. And he's like, okay, what's the problem? Well, you only selected one guest for your check-in, and you have your girlfriend, so you have 2 people. So we're going to have to charge you $250 a night for her.
Oh, my God. You gotta you gotta pay attention to the details.
Yes, and to give Hyatt credit on the page when you go to like pick your people, it says make sure you select the proper amount of people. There may be charges or whatever, but it's kind of BS when you're talking 2 people. When you're talking 3 people, yes, 100%. Like when you go above 2, but the cash price and the points price is the same for 1 or 2 people. Like there's no discount for 1 person versus 2 people. So we were sitting there like, hey, it's the same price. Like I know he should have selected 2, but it covers 2 people. Can't we just make it for 2 people? What's the problem? They're like, no, you have to have Hyatt do that. My guess is that they get reimbursed differently if it's 1 or 2 people when you're using points, which doesn't make a ton of sense because if he had booked cash, I think it would have been fine because cash is the same for 1 or 2 people, but maybe not. But they must have something to do because they're like, hey, if you can get Hyatt to show it as 2 people, we're cool with that. Like you just got to call them and get it swapped. I'm like, okay, the concierge will be able to do this. This shouldn't be a big deal. Like the points cover 2 people. You just got to make the reservation show 2 people.
Yeah, so easy. I'm guessing. Was it that easy? If it was my concierge, she would have just said congratulations and good luck.
Yeah, no. So this is Hyatt. This is Hyatt's system, and their problem that they always, whenever they change anything, they have to cancel and rebook a room. Like if you had a suite upgrade award, they cancel and rebook it, and sometimes it ends up costing more, so they have to give you extra points, or they might miss it that the price had changed, and you have to tell them. So you have to pay attention to this stuff. They have an antiquated system that sucks, and so they were unable to do it. Now, if there had been a points room available, he could have canceled and rebooked. He would have to pay the close-in booking fee because there's a 30-day window for this all-inclusive, which I think is crazy. But so he could have canceled, pay like the $300, which would have been cheaper, and then rebooked for 2 people. But there was no standard rooms left available for points. Now, I also think Hyatt did have the possibility to do something here. I had tried to add lounge access earlier and didn't pay attention to the cancellation window. It was like 2 weeks out, and I was like, all right, they're showing a room with 2 beds. I'm going to switch my king to 2 beds, add the lounge access certificate to it, and then I'll cancel the other booking. But I want to make sure this goes through before I cancel that. And had I done it reverse, I would have noticed that there was a 30-day cancellation window, but I didn't, and I should have paid attention. I should have looked at my email before doing this. But I did it, booked the room, went to cancel, then saw it pop up, and I was like, oh, crap. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I was just trying to add lounge access. I'm not like trying to get rid of a room. It's the same amount of rooms. Can you just cancel one? And after back and forth, they were pushing back saying, no, there's nothing we can do. I was like, I reached out to you within 5 minutes of doing this. Booking error. You can't cancel it. And finally, somebody else came in to the Twitter DM and said, all right, I do see you contacted us within the first hour. I did cancel that room. And then they attached the lounge access cert for me, which included canceling and rebooking and adding points to my account and all this stuff. Because I think they had to book me into a VIP room with points. I don't know. But they had to do all these hoops. They wouldn't let me add it to the second room because they said you can only use 1 per person. It would have to be in my wife's account, and I would have to send her the lounge access certificate and do it that way, which I probably should have done from the start because then she would have got Dreams for her Brand Explorer, but whatever. I messed this whole thing up. They made it right. So if they're able to make it right there, I think they could have made it right here. But they didn't, and the hotel was very apologetic, like, "Hey, there's not much we can do about it." I'm guessing they were just gonna get shafted, but $250 seemed outrageous. The room was going for like $360 cash, so should have been like 180. They ended up giving him 20% off, so he ended up spending $650 for the 3 nights just to have his girlfriend there, which, he's like, "I was already kinda leaning towards not going for Globalist again. I'm gonna get it this year." He already had gotten like, that trip was getting him his 60 nights, but he said, "Next year, I'm done."
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, if that happens to me, I would have gone as high in Hyatt if I needed to get that, but it doesn't make any sense. As you point out, the room should be for two people and it's a mistake. And yeah, I mean, it's just disappointing to hear. I'm not trying to pretend like I would have gotten a better resolution. I probably would have gotten told to pound sand just like that. It's sort
Yeah.
of shocking to me, quite honestly, that that's the case. And obviously, he did the right thing. You got to pay it. You got to enjoy your trip. I think that's something that people need to understand too, is that sometimes you just have to enjoy and move on and try to deal with it later. And by dealing with it, maybe that just means uh, he's not happy with Hyatt anymore. He moves on. And, I think there's a lot of us we've tried, bring back last week where I say, I think that the experience on a property level is a little different. And, and maybe this is just anecdotal. I just don't think this happens 5 years ago with Hyatt, if I'm being honest. I think that they just fix it and make it right. I don't think you have to, push so hard. And I don't think that you have to do it. And yeah, it's sad. Another tip on the being within the cancellation window. One thing I've had Hyatt do for me without even canceling stuff is they've moved my reservation out of the cancellation window and then I can cancel it. I don't know if that's better for them with the hotel owners, but it's like, oh, it's in the cancellation window, but just say you're going to stay there next week and I'll move it to next week and then you can cancel it then. Kind of read between the lines, but yeah, I just think this is just so disappointing.
Yeah, and that was my plan. If they kept saying no, 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 I was gonna be like, all right, well then let's move it to next year so I can try to come back and take advantage of this or whatever. And then I would have canceled it. But even if they would have been like, you can't cancel, then at least make something out of it. But the funny thing is, I said, well, if I would have got stuck with that extra room, this wouldn't be a problem because she could have just taken that room as her plus one. But it is annoying. Hyatt should, all these hotels automatically put it for one person. They should just have it automatically put for two. Doesn't hurt anything. And then you're covered. It would be a nice change where all check ins just automatically for two people. And then if you show up with one person, nobody cares. But he said, I've never had this happen before. I don't say it all inclusives. I didn't think it would be a big deal. Never has another hotel been like, oh, you have two people instead of one. No. And if it had been points only cover one person, that would have been one thing. But the fact that points and cash cover two people is what makes it so frustrating. So I get why he was upset. Kudos to him. He was over it in like an hour. He said, hey, it's my mistake. I'm upset that they wouldn't do anything, but I'm at fault here. So we're just going to move on and have a good time. Now, getting back to the lounge. So the lounge has premium alcohol, which you have to pay for in other places. We're talking like higher end liquors. We tried to order a drink at the main bar and they're like, oh, no, you have to pay for this. I said, but if I go to the lounge, it's free. And they said, yeah. So that's one perk of it. They have night, evening hors d'oeuvres type of setup. And they also have a little breakfast spread up there, which you can go to the buffet, but the buffet is overrun with people. The food wasn't the greatest. I think the food up there was a little bit better. It's a very small selection. Like it was like eggs, bacon, some type of potato, and a couple other things. So after 3 days, it was a bit old, but it was nice to have that. There was never more than like three other people in there. And outside of our room, it was the only air conditioned restaurant. Well, I shouldn't say only. I think the Italian restaurant was air conditioned too, but most of the other places you drink or eat are open air, so it's muggy and hot, and that was air conditioned. So we would go up there and have some drinks at night. I think it was open until 11 o'clock. Our room was just down the hallway, so we could play like card games with the kids, play chess. They had all these different games and stuff. It was comfortable. They would go to bed. We'd have a couple more drinks. Then we go downstairs and watch the entertainment or whatever it is. But it really was kind of a lifesaver, like a way to get away from all the craziness of the resort.
Yeah, I've stayed at a couple of all inclusives where I have had that VIP lounge sort of access, and I just for exactly the same reasons. It's quieter. Breakfast was sometimes higher end. One resort, it wasn't a Hyatt that I stayed at. They, when you had VIP access, they give you a wristband, and that allowed you to get the better booze at all the bars, which was actually a nice touch compared to
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I mean, you do think, oh, lounge access, what do I need that at an all inclusive? But sometimes it is the space, it is something a little bit nicer, and glad to hear that pay off. So I know you mentioned the Italian restaurant. What's up with the dress code there?
Yeah. Oh, one more thing I should say. They were kind enough when we checked in. They said, "Hey, you only have access for one room, but we'll give it to both rooms." And I expected like a wristband, like you said, so we could get liquor elsewhere and things like that. They never even checked it. Maybe they just knew who was there after they checked them in. But we just walked in. Nobody ever paid attention to if we had access or not. Same with the Hyatt Regency. It was on the like 30th floor or something, so you needed a key card to get into there. So I'm guessing just being able to get off the elevator there was enough for them, but you could bring up people from other rooms and not probably have a problem. So if you're going traveling with friends in Cartagena, maybe that works. But yeah, the Italian restaurant. So I looked at the restaurants before we went there and tried to look at menus. Not a lot of info on the internet. Nothing about dress code. When we get there, they're like, "Oh, the Italian restaurant has a dress code. You have to wear pants or Bermuda shorts and closed toe shoes, like no sandals." And I'm like, this is kind of crazy. Like it's hot as hell here. I don't know. I didn't pack any pants. Like this is not a thing. I didn't have shoes. I just had like dress sandals, like Birkenstocks. And I'm like, okay. So I go up in like my dress shorts and I'm like, are these okay? And the person at the hostess stand was like, no, pants. So we're like, okay. So just to go to this restaurant, I borrow my friend's pants. I borrow my son's shoes, tennis shoes. Somehow tennis shoes are better than Birkenstocks, like nice Birkenstocks. So we finally get when he goes to make the reservation, he goes up to you have to make it either at the host stand at the Italian place at night, or you go to the buffet when they're staying there. So he goes there in his bathing suit because it's midday, and hey, is there any reservations tonight? Oh yeah, but there's a dress code. He goes, I know, I'm not going to try to go in my swimwear. It was like no cutoff shirt, like no tank tops. Sorry, Benji, you can't go here. And stuff like that. So we show up, we're the first ones there, we get in, and like every other person, or like half the people after us, walk in with shorts. One was wearing jorts, jean shorts, man. And another guy's wearing Crocs. And I'm like, why are you busting our balls and you let all these people in that look way worse?
Because you asked. You should never ask. This actually happened to me.
They brought it up to us like so many times. I think it's like an American rule. I mean, who else wears tank tops? It's got to be like an American, like you guys dress like slobs. We need to make sure you look nice. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Oh my God. This happened to me the other day when we were in Casablanca. We went to the mosque and we were doing a day tour of Casablanca. And usually in mosques, you have to wear pants and stuff like that. So I looked it up ahead of time online and it said you have to wear pants and all that. And then we were on a tour and there were like 3 other Americans on this tour. By the way, no American wanted to say they were American for some reason, which was very interesting. I had to go first and I said I was from Las Vegas. And then like this guy from New York, and they asked him where he's from. He's like, New York, New York. He's like all quiet, trying to be like, whatever this is. But he's in like these like Hawaiian shorts, and there's other people inside them. And I'm like, oh my God. And I wore these stupid dress pants all day for my tour just so I could fit in there. So I feel your pain there. But yeah, I mean, how was the rest of the resort overall? How was the condition, the overall value, all of that stuff?
Yeah, so we paid 20,000 points a night, and part of the reason I booked this or we went on this trip is I was looking for an all-inclusive so my kids could experience one, but they had jacked up the rates at Hyatt all-inclusives everywhere. So I was looking for one that, because I knew I would have to book 2 rooms, so I wanted to get like around that 20,000 points a night. So it was 40,000 points for our 2 rooms. And this one looked really good, had great reviews. So see, I actually looked at the reviews online. It was like 4.7 on Google, and I was like, okay, the pictures look beautiful. Our buddy Mark Jackson was like, oh, that's where we went for our honeymoon. It used to be a Conrad. It wasn't an all-inclusive. So it has bones. Like you can tell that it was probably a really nice Conrad 15 or 20 years ago. And it just looks like they haven't done anything to it since then. So the pool area, like tile is falling off, cracks in the walls. It just looks rough. And I never saw anybody cleaning the pool. Maybe they did early in the morning, but the pool always had like a lot of sediment in it, and it wasn't like the cleanest of water. It just didn't seem like maintenance did much of anything. And you go out to like the beach area, there was chunks of the pool on the beach and just missing tile everywhere. And it just, and one of the huts, they had ripped the roof off and just kind of threw it on the ground next to the hut. And there's all this like stuff just sitting there. And you're like, how long has that been there? Are they going to remove this? And it started to smell a little bit, and it just wasn't maintained well. The service was great. The people were great, but for whatever reason, they have a lot of servers. We never waited long for drinks or anything like that, but they don't have a lot of maintenance crew, and they need more of that. One other tip was the shower door got stuck one day, so we called down. After a couple hours, nobody came. My wife pulled up the Hyatt like all inclusive app. It's separate from the World of Hyatt app. Just filed a thing like, "Hey, we need the shower broken, can't open," and a guy came up within 10 minutes. We ran out of toilet paper. Just put in there like need toilet paper in the app. Somebody came up quickly. So do it there versus calling down. That was like instantaneous. So take that away. Maybe that works at all the all inclusives, but yeah, it just needs a big refresh, maintenance, overhaul. The rooms were fine, but the main areas were a bit rough at times.
And then when they spend that money, then it ain't going to be cheap anymore.
Yeah. Then it goes to 30K a night. I don't know. It was fine for what it was. My daughter did her like 11 pina coladas and loved that. If you've seen the viral little kid video at an all inclusive where he's like, my first pina yada. She made a whole thing, a montage of that. So they had fun, and it's nice when you don't have to sign a bill, and when you have teen kids and they eat like a house and just continue to eat, and you love that aspect of it. So I definitely want to take them to another all inclusive, but maybe we go a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, I miss the good old days. There were so many good deals on those all inclusives back when, and not quite the case anymore. But there's some other ones. There's some other of those lower category ones around Central America, South America. So maybe there's some hidden gems out there. Maybe some people who are watching
Probably
know
not.
Yeah.
I think once you go below like Secrets, Ziva, and Zalara, I don't think it's the greatest. Dreams didn't seem. I know there's like another brand or two below Dreams. And this is the problem with Hyatt's expansion. They bought a lot of stuff, and it's just not, like you said, it's not up to Hyatt snuff. Like this would never be a Hyatt hotel if they hadn't bought it.
So let us know what you guys think about everything we talked about. Have you been to this hotel, Cartagena? Your thoughts on that? The Hyatt, thing, the 2 versus 1 guest, should they have made that right? AA and their cards. Are you going to go collect all of them? And CardPointers, make sure to sign up. This is a great service, and being able to get a lifetime membership so you don't have to pay a subscription, half off. Lock it in now. Link down in the description. But yeah, let us know what you guys think about what we talked about, and we will be back on Thursday with another show. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good week, everybody.